Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. The mailman was at the door. Of course he was. And look, I have something to unbox for you on live Facebook. Okay, but first, let's continue here. There was a used library bookstore in the Cincinnati Public Library warehouse. And so that was the reason that I went to Cincinnati to begin with. And I found Loons Lives, the Arts, and Geography. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I picked those up to resell because I thought, I don't need those. Well, and then I opened them up and started to read, and now I'm in love with them, and so I'm going to have to get some more of his, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have those. So I have Loons Lives, the Arts, and Geography. This one, I don't recognize the author at all, but I fell in love with the wood engravings, and I love lighthouses. So I picked this up, and let me show you the incredible artwork in here. I got it for $2. Oh, come on. Watch me not be able to find any on live. All of these are wood engraving prints, and they're just gorgeous. And it tells the story of lighthouses. Another one I picked up at the used library sale was a current book, Little Author in the Big Woods. It's for a reading level of about 3rd grade. And that's why I picked it up for some girls that we're friends with that will love to read that. And I wanted to point that out too, is your library can be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to have just vintage out of print things. I don't. I have mostly, I would say 90% are vintage out of print, and then 10% are books that I think that are current books that are living or that my son really, really likes. So your library can be whatever you want it to be. Okay, dun da da da! The Complete Book of Marvels. Now this one I found at Half Price Books in Florence, Kentucky, in their vintage section. And I wasn't really sure. We stopped there after going to the 5-story bookstore, after they closed and pushed us out. I had spent a lot of money, and I didn't know if I wanted to pick this up. So I left it there and came back, and just a little secret, I went back to Cincinnati 2 days later to go to the bookstore again because I'd missed so much of being able to look at. And on the way back through, I did stop and I did pick up the Book of Marvels. How could I not, right? Okay, so moving on. I found these. These were on the very first shelf of the 5-story bookstore, and I grabbed them because they're just fabulous. They're the Told Under series, and for instance, this one is Stories of All of America's Children, Rich and Varied in Custom and Origin, which I think is just fantastic. It says, here are more than 25 stories, old and new, gathered to help boys and girls in the United States better understand each other. For all of us have come from different backgrounds to live under the stars and stripes, and often we do not appreciate the riches that have come to us through customs and traditions brought from lands older than our own. And so you have stories from Carolyn Haywood, Anne Nolan Clark, Marguerite d'Angely, let's see, Maud Hart Lovelace, Lucy Sprague Mitchell, Doris Gates, another one from d'Angely. There's so many in here. And they're wonderful. I read the first one by Elizabeth Orton Jones, Maminka's Children. Just fabulous. I can't wait to sit down with my son with these books. So this one is Told Under the Stars and Stripes. This one is Told Under Spacious Skies. So it's north, south, east, and west, regional stories about American children. And I think this would be a good intro or kind of maybe even a placeholder for Lois Linsky's regional novels. So that'll go in the same spot in the library. And this one is Told Under the Christmas Tree, Stories and Poems from Around the World. And all of these have authors that are really well known and respected in juvenile literature. So there's Rachel Field, Elizabeth Yates, Eleanor Farjeon, Thomas Bailey Aldrich, let's see, Kenneth Graham, Elizabeth Coatsworth, Laura Ingalls Wilder, Lucretia Hale, Kate Sherity, another one by Rachel Field and Elizabeth Coatsworth. So they collect these stories from these wonderful authors. This one is Told Under the Magic Umbrella, Modern Tales of Fancy and Humor. Doesn't that look fun? Oh my goodness. Okay, this one I found at Half Price Books. Famous Men of the Middle Ages. It's from the Poland Heron, Rob and Cindy Shearer. They also have Famous Men of Rome, Famous Men of Greece, things like that. And I didn't have that one, so I picked that one up. Now, Wendy Smith. Look what I found. Penrod, his complete story. And I never would have picked it up and never would have been interested in it had it not been for you sharing me your Junior Deluxe Edition and telling me all about it. So this contains the 3 volumes, Penrod and Sam, and Penrod Jasper, whatever that is. It's Mr. Tarkington's final word on the tragic comic subtlety, The American Boy. And I think Cole will love it. So shout out to you, Wendy, for introducing me to that new story. I love the little golden books, but I don't like all the, taking up all the space. So I collect these collections. And I was able to pick up Sleepy Time Tales. The next 2 are from the Madeline Brandish. I'm not sure how to say her name, but I found The Little Indian Weaver. And I also found Little Greta of Denmark. This one's actually by Bernadine Bailey, which is kind of confusing. I have to research that and see if she did it under a pseudonym or if it was a completely different author in the same series. This one is Wild and Woolly West by Earl Shank Myers. I absolutely, positively adore Earl Shank Myers and his writing. So I try to collect him whenever I see him. He will be one of the featured authors in a future video that I'll be doing here on Living Pages Library. And then Marguerite Vance is one of my favorite biography authors, and I found this, the Empress Josephine, from Martinique to Malmaison, and I can't wait to read that. I love Marguerite Vance. The other one of hers that I have is on Marie Antoinette, so I'm sure this is just as good. I found this, the first book. I love the first books. I have several of them. And this is one that I think will come in handy very soon because Cole is starting, he's joined an invention club and a math club. And so he will get to understand how meetings are run and why they're doing things the way they are, because I'm sure that will be his question. I also collect Jeannie Bendick. And I found this on the clearance shelf at Half Price Books. The Big Strawberry Book of Astronomy, written by Jeannie Bendick. Now, she does have an evolutionary stance, just to give you a forewarning. But as long as you know that and you know how to address that with your children, that's great. I bought this in a group. It was in a lot of 4 books. And I kept 2, and I'm going to sell 2, but I'm keeping the Clara Ingram Jetson Mr. Justice Holmes. I didn't have him in the collection of her books, and so I was really excited to get that one. And then the other one that I kept out of that 4-book lot was Carl Sandburg's Abe Lincoln Grows Up. And to be honest with you, I did not need another book about Abe Lincoln, but the fact that it was about the prairie, or it was about him growing up, and it was with illustrations by James Doherty, that's why I kept it. These next 4 were ones that I picked up from Liv Conroy on Reshelving Alexandria. Happily Ever After by Alice Dalglish. So I love her. I collect her whenever I can find her at a reasonable price. This one's pretty exciting because it's my favorite author illustrator, but she only illustrated this one. Lois Linsky illustrated in the Read to Me storybook. It's compiled by the Child Study Association of America, and it's illustrated by Lois Linsky. Just absolutely, positively am in awe and adore her writing and her illustrations. The next one I got from Liv was a hardback of Homer Price. I'm trying to replace all the paperbacks that I had with hardbacks. And then I got another copy of Strawberry Girl because I have a vintage copy that's on the verge of delicate. And so I wanted to have one that would withstand more wear. This one I bought off online. I collect Carolyn Haywood. I love her. I love her Betsy and I love her Eddie stories. So this is Eddie and his big deals. This one is a treasure. I also got this online. Opal Wheeler's Stars Over Bethlehem. And this is where she tells of her trip to Israel. And I love all things Israel. And I cannot wait to sit and read this one. Let's see, that one. This one, Ellen's America. I had this on my shelf. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. No one really wants to buy it because the spine has lost its linen cover. And I understand that completely. But I think what I'm going to do, and this will be another topic of future videos, is I am going to take what I can of her illustrations out of here. And preferably the full page ones like this. And sell them as prints. Because that's what, or use some of them in my library. That's how I'm decorating my my reading room, is with vintage book art. Here's Lydia. And this is her color illustrations, which are just breathtaking. I love it. I was so excited to complete my Book House series. I was missing 10 and 11. I had picked up the rest of the set at a vendor mall, a flea market peddler's mall, for $20. And I was missing number 10 and number 11, and I was able to find the ones that went with my publishing year. And so now that is complete.